Hello and welcome to my 8th video of 2021, top 5 takeaways from the Microsoft acquisition of ZeniMax Roundtable. The studios included are Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane Studios, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Studios. I'll be going over my top 5 takeaways through the lens of a game developer, and if you do end up enjoying this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to help me grow as a content creator. Jumping right into it, first and foremost, at number 5, we see ZeniMax getting 20 of their games onto the Game Pass. This has already happened. If you have Game Pass, you can play them now, but this is a huge selling point for Xbox and their Game Pass. It hugely increases the value that Microsoft brings with their Game Pass. For me, I don't need an Xbox because I can use the Game Pass on PC, but it seems Microsoft is going all out on this being the reason that you're going to be picking up an Xbox. And I think it's a really smart move. Microsoft is kind of betting on the fact that people aren't going to want to buy individual games anymore, much less physical copies of games. It makes me a little bit sad thinking about that, as I was a little bit too young to go to those sick midnight releases at GameStop of the new Call of Duty dropping or something like that, and it really did seem like a good time. But in a digital world, it really just seems like it makes sense to cut out the middleman, cut out GameStop. Games will be cheaper for the consumer on a per-game basis with the Game Pass. And older games could potentially be generating revenue for studios long after they would have been normally, so it's really a win for both the consumers and the developers. And I think this does a really good job at making Xbox more competitive, as really before this, I was expecting PlayStation just kind of have a cakewalk and just have another generation of consoles where they're the dominator, they're the leader. But this is Xbox stepping up, saying, hey, we can fight too. Coming in at number 4, it's going to be id Tech and the future of Microsoft shooters. As many of you probably already know, id Tech has been used in a lot of shooter games. From the new Doom games to Wolfenstein, it has a vast history and seems like a very, very solid shooter engine. So how can this tech be leveraged to make something like Halo even better than it already is? 343 Industries already uses their own game engine called Slipstream for Halo Infinite, so I don't really see them making a full engine swap. It's possible, but it's unlikely. But it's possible that parts of id Tech engine could be integrated into engines from other studios in order to make the gunplay just better. Even if that's too much for a studio, they can at least listen to id Tech and listen to the problems they've solved, their methods for success, and just integrate that into their own games. Sliding in at number 3, we're going to have a hot topic, and that's we're going to be seeing some exclusives on Xbox. Now, Phil Spencer did say that contracts that already exist will be honored.
So obviously I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive, because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through.
So I expect the next Fallout game, the next Elder Scroll game to probably be on PlayStation as well, but this is really adding some strong IPs to the Microsoft umbrella that are honestly a huge selling point, right? Like, I want to buy a PS5 because I want to play the exclusives, so Xbox can finally be a part of that conversation.
But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
Popping in at number 2 is less of an announcement and more of a very interesting talking point. So Todd Howard did something quite unexpected, openly discussing that they let people down with Fallout 76.
76, while you mention it, is something where it's another sort of point in my mind with our relationship where when that game launched, you know, the litany of issues we had, and we let a lot of people down, and well, there was very little we didn't screw up, honestly.
Everyone knows that that game released when it wasn't ready. But they ended up updating the game and they kept working on it, and now it is thriving on Game Pass.
And that kind of advice really, really helped us. And now, you know, seeing 76 be one of the most played games on Xbox, we're just, you know, incredibly fortunate to be there.
It seems like we're moving into a realm where having a complete game on launch is less necessary. And I find that kind of weird, right? We saw Cyberpunk, we saw Fallout 76. Games nowadays are not always complete on launch. It's weird that we've moved from we always pre-order everything because we love games to don't pre-order games to the game isn't going to be done when it's launched. But if a studio keeps working on the game and makes it into something that's good, is it really that big of a deal? I'm very curious on what you guys think on this. My first reaction is that I can't help but feel like it damages the brand. The Fallout brand was tarnished by the flop of the release of Fallout 76. But if the game has millions of players now, is it better? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And finally, coming in at number 1, something that a lot of people might not see the significance of, but the creative freedom that's allowed now.
But then as a creator, it really unlocks some things that maybe you wanted to do, or will this find an audience, or there's certain types of games that maybe in the past could kind of get lost sometimes. And having that kind of avenue to make a game and release a game opens up so many things, a lot of things that our company and all our studios, they really, really love to do. From the creator side, it's also just, awesome.
True creativity comes when you could separate the game from the business. When you make games for yourself, or when you make games that you want to send a message with, you're probably not going to hit a massive audience. And in most models, it wouldn't be economically responsible or possible to develop such a game. Part of the reason that people say games are less interesting now than they were 10, 15, or 20 years ago is that companies are now super meticulous about risk. Lowering risk is everything. The final product is everything. It has to sell. Games are big because they plan on selling to millions and millions of people. But when you lower the risk, you also lower the bold choices that you make. People often see indie games as more creative, and quite often you see some indie game cult hits. But what you don't see are the thousands and thousands of indie games that fail to even make a blip on your radar, stuff that you just don't see. If we can see teams of people utilizing the Game Pass to pursue their true passion, to pursue true creativity with game development, we could see some of the best games we've ever seen. But games that aren't meant for the general audience, games that resonate deeply with a specific group of players, games that wouldn't have been possible without the help of Game Pass. That was my top 5. I'm curious if there's anything you think I should have included. Let me know in the comments below, and it might make its own video in the future. If you enjoy this kind of content, please be sure to like and subscribe. Tell me to keep making this kind of stuff. My Discord is in the description if you want to chat with me there, and remember, happy gaming.